Robert was just 2 years old when we lost Steve, and there's a tendency to think everything you do as a mom is kind of expected but maybe not noticed.
Terri Irwin, the loving mother of the Irwin family, is moved to tears as her son, Robert, goes through a surprising change. He used to be a happy, brave boy who seemed ready to follow in his father Steve Irwin's famous footsteps. Now, Robert seems quiet and very different from before. Fans all over the world are shocked and asking what could have caused such a big change in him. For Terri, it is deeply shocking. How did the Crocodile Hunter's son change so much from the boy everyone knew? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. The transformation of Terri Irwin's son. Robert Irwin was born on December 1st, 2003 in Queensland, Australia, into a family that the world already knew very well. His father, Steve Irwin, had become widely loved for his fearless work with animals, and his mother, Terri Irwin, stood beside him in both life and work. From the very beginning, Robert's life was connected to something much bigger than himself. But before he could even begin to understand that, everything changed in a way that would shape the rest of his life. At just 2 years old, Robert lost his father in a tragic accident. At that age, a child is still learning basic things about the world, still forming memories, still trying to understand people and emotions. Because of this, Robert did not grow up with clear memories of his father. He did not have long conversations stored in his mind or shared moments he could easily return to. Instead, what he had were stories, videos, and the reactions of others. He learned who his father was by watching old footage, by listening carefully to the way people spoke about him, and by noticing how faces would change when his father's name was mentioned. This created a very unusual kind of loss. It was not the kind where memories are slowly replayed over time. It was something quieter, something more distant, but still very heavy. It meant growing up knowing that someone important was missing, even without fully remembering what that presence once felt like. That kind of understanding does not come all at once. It builds slowly, piece by piece, as a child grows older and begins to ask deeper questions. While Robert was growing through this quiet and complex experience, Terri Irwin was facing a reality that required her to carry more than most people ever have to. She had to raise 2 young children on her own. At the same time, she had to continue the work that had once been shared with her husband. There was no pause, no space to step away completely. The world was still watching, still expecting, still holding on to the name that had become so well known through Steve Irwin. What made this even more difficult was that her strength had to be visible. She could not easily fall apart in public, even if she needed to. She had to keep going, not just for herself, but for her children and for everything that had been built before. Many people saw her composure and called it strength, but in many ways, it was something deeper than that. It was something she had no choice but to become. It was about continuing, even when stopping might have felt easier. As Robert grew, something began to stand out very clearly. From a very young age, he showed a natural ease around animals. It was not something forced or carefully taught in a strict way. It seemed to come from within him. He moved with confidence, showed curiosity, and did not hesitate in situations that might make others step back. These moments began to draw attention, especially from those who had watched Steve Irwin for many years. Over time, the similarities became more noticeable. It was not just in how he handled animals, but also in small details. The way he spoke, the way he reacted, even the way he carried himself began to remind people of his father. As he entered his teenage years, even his physical appearance started to reflect that same connection. For many observers, the resemblance felt strong and, at times, almost surprising. Each similarity could feel like both a gift and a memory, appearing together in ways that could not be separated. At the same time, Robert was growing up under a level of attention that brought constant comparison. People did not just see him as a young individual learning and changing. They often saw him as a reflection of Steve Irwin. Every action, every step forward was measured against something that already existed. That kind of pressure can shape a person in many ways. Some might feel the need to copy what came before. Others might pull away completely. But Robert's path did not follow either of those directions. Instead, it developed slowly in a way that focused on being real and consistent. He did not try to become a copy, and he did not reject the connection either. He allowed himself to grow in a way that respected the past while still making space for who he was becoming. This balance did not appear suddenly. It formed over time, through experience, through learning, and through quiet understanding. After growing up with such a deep loss, constant comparison, and the quiet strength of his mother shaping his early years, one question remains. What does it truly mean for Robert Irwin to become himself, beyond the shadow of a legacy that the world continues to hold on to? As he has stepped further into adulthood, the answer has started to take clearer shape. Robert has not only continued his family's mission of wildlife conservation, but he has also found his own voice within it. Whether through photography, television appearances, or speaking engagements, he has shown a natural ability to connect with people in a way that feels genuine and unforced. His passion for animals is no longer seen as something inherited alone, but something deeply personal. At the same time, he has embraced the responsibility that comes with his last name without letting it define every part of him. He understands the expectations, but he does not allow them to control his direction. Instead, he uses them as a foundation, building something that reflects both where he comes from and where he is going. And in many ways, his transformation is not about replacing what was lost, but about continuing it in a new and evolving form. How did Robert Irwin begin to step out of that shadow and build a path that was truly his own? Stay tuned for more. Growth, identity, and turning legacy into purpose. As Robert Irwin continued to grow older, the direction of his life began to take clearer shape. While many people expected him to remain closely tied to the image of Steve Irwin, what became more visible over time was something more independent. He did not step away from the legacy connected to his family, but he also did not allow it to fully define him. Instead, he began to build something that reflected his own interests, his own voice, and his own way of seeing the world. One of the areas where this became most clear was in his work with wildlife conservation. Rather than simply repeating familiar ideas, he approached the subject with a focus on what was happening in the present. He spoke about real challenges, about changes in the environment, and about the need for awareness. His way of communicating did not rely only on history or memory. It focused on what people could see and understand now. This approach made his message feel direct and grounded. In addition to his conservation efforts, Robert developed a strong interest in photography. Over time, this interest grew into something more serious. He began capturing images of wildlife and natural environments in a way that showed both skill and intention. His photographs were not just about appearance. They carried the feeling. They showed moments that made people pause and think about what they were seeing. Through these images, he was able to express ideas without always needing words. This combination of science, creativity, and communication helped shape how people began to view him. He was no longer seen only as the son of a well-known figure. He was becoming recognized for his own abilities and his own contributions. This shift did not happen quickly. It developed slowly as more people noticed the consistency in his work and the clarity in his message. Another important part of Robert's growth was his emotional awareness. As he matured, he began to speak more openly about his experiences. He acknowledged the impact of his father's legacy, not just on himself, but on people around the world. At the same time, he expressed a clear sense of gratitude. This gratitude was not simple or surface level. It came with an understanding of what had been lost and what had been carried forward. His ability to hold both of these feelings at once showed a level of depth that stood out. It suggested that he had taken time to reflect, to think carefully about his position, and to understand it in a meaningful way. During this moment, images from his early childhood were shown, creating a clear connection between past and present. The performance itself carried strong emotion, and it ended with visible signs of how deeply it affected him. This moment stood out not because it was dramatic, but because it was genuine. It showed how Robert was able to face his past directly without turning away from it. At the same time, it showed how he had grown into someone capable of expressing that connection in his own way. The recognition he received for this performance reflected not just technical ability, but also emotional honesty. Looking at the broader picture, what becomes clear is a steady transformation. Robert's life began with a loss that could have easily defined him in a limiting way. It came with expectations that could have been overwhelming, but instead of being held back by these factors, he used them as a starting point. The legacy connected to his name did not become a barrier. It became something he could carry forward, but in a way that matched who he was as an individual. He did not try to replace what came before, and he did not try to escape it. He found a way to move alongside it, building something new while still respecting what had been. This process reflects a deeper idea about growth. It shows how a person can take difficult experiences and turn them into something meaningful. It shows how identity can be shaped not only by what is given, but also by what is chosen. In Robert's case, what was chosen was a path built on purpose, awareness, and a clear sense of direction. In the end, his story is not only about legacy. It is about how that legacy is understood, carried, and reshaped over time. As he continues forward, Robert shows that identity is not something fixed, but something that evolves with experience and intention. Each step he takes reflects a careful balance between honoring the past and embracing the future. His journey reminds people that even the strongest legacies can grow into something new, shaped by choice, purpose, and a deeper understanding of who we truly are becoming. After stepping into his own identity and moving beyond expectations, how did Robert Irwin begin to turn that quiet independence into a powerful, modern legacy of his own? Let's delve deeper. From foundation to fame, Robert Irwin's own path beyond legacy. After Steve Irwin died, Terri Irwin had to take care of a lot of things. She had to keep her family together and also keep the work her husband loved going. People noticed that she did many things at the same time. She became a single mom, looked after the Australia Zoo, and made sure her family's image stayed good in front of the public. This was not easy. There were cameras, fans, and people always watching. Even with all that pressure, Terri made sure the zoo kept running well. The zoo was very important to the family. Terri also worked hard to give her kids a normal life. She wanted them to feel safe and happy, even though they were famous. She tried to protect them from too much attention. She wanted them to grow up with love and care, not only seeing what the world expected. Because of this, Robert Irwin could grow up without feeling he had to be exactly like his dad. When Terri raised Robert, she wanted him to learn good values. She wanted him to be kind, humble, and able to make his own choices. She did not push him to do exactly what Steve did. She let him explore his own interests. This helped Robert not feel too much pressure. It gave him the chance to be his own person. At the same time, he still learned to respect his family's work. When Robert became a teenager, he became very interested in photography. This was an important change. Instead of always being in front of the camera, he started working behind it. He looked at animals in a quiet, careful way. Over time, he got better and better at taking pictures. People started to notice his work. Robert's photography was more than just a hobby. He won awards and people around the world praised his work. He often took pictures of animals and nature. Even though it was different from his father's work, it still shared the same message about taking care of wildlife. Photography helped Robert tell his own story. It gave him confidence. It showed he could do something important on his own. In the last few years, Robert has also done other things. He has worked in fashion, hosted shows on TV, and made videos online. This helped him reach new people, especially younger fans. These new jobs also helped him stay known and interesting to the public. By doing different kinds of work, he could connect with people who did not know much about his dad. Robert's life now shows that he can keep the family's mission alive while doing his own thing. He can balance conservation and fun, old and new. This way, the Irwin family's work continues, but it grows in a new way. Robert is carrying on the family legacy while also adding his own ideas and style. Terri's early love for animals and her first meeting with Steve Irwin played a big role in shaping her life. Her passion and care for wildlife helped guide her family and build the Irwin story. How did her early life and meeting Steve set the path for her family? How did these things shape the life of her children, especially Robert? Terri's hard work and love show that family and passion can go together. She has helped Robert grow into his own person. She also kept the family's mission alive. Her story reminds us that caring for family and following what you love are both very important. Terri's life shows how one person can hold a family together and help the next generation grow in the right way. How did Terri Irwin's early passion for wildlife and her first encounter with Steve Irwin shape the path that would define both her life and her family's legacy? Let's find out. Terri Irwin, a mother's strength amid Robert's transformation. Terri Irwin has always loved helping animals. Even before she married Steve Irwin, she spent her life taking care of injured and abandoned wildlife in the United States. She ran a small center where she treated animals like raccoons, cougars, and other hurt creatures. She made sure they got the care they needed so they could go back safely to the wild. Terri also worked as a veterinary technician. This gave her real, hands-on experience in helping sick and hurt animals. All of this early work gave her the skills, knowledge, and confidence to make a real difference in wildlife care. Long before she became famous, Terri had already shown strong dedication to saving animals and protecting their homes. In 1991, Terri went to Australia to learn more about taking care of animals in other countries. While visiting Australia's zoo in Queensland, she met Steve Irwin. Steve was already known for being brave with animals and for his energy in protecting them. Terri's experience and love for animals impressed Steve, and he admired her dedication. They realized they shared the same goals and values. Their meeting became the start of a partnership, both in work and in life. Together, they worked on conservation and teaching people why protecting animals is important. Their partnership shaped Australia's zoo and created a family that would always be involved with wildlife care. Their son, Robert Irwin, grew up surrounded by animals and public attention. As he grew older, Robert became well known for his skill and excitement with animals. But over time, people noticed that Robert began to change. He started to show signs that he wanted to make his own path. His look, behavior, and public presence all shifted. He became quieter and more careful about media appearances. Many believe he is taking time to figure out who he is as a person, separate from being Steve Irwin's son, and to decide what he wants in life. Robert's personal life also shows his independence. He dated Rory Buckey, the niece of actor Heath Ledger. Later, he was reportedly seen with Charlotte Briggs, a co-worker at Australia Zoo. Right now, Robert is unmarried. He seems focused on his own growth, both personally and professionally. He is trying to balance his private life with public work and figure out what he really wants for himself. Through all of these changes, Terri has been there for Robert. She supports him while also giving him space to grow. She is patient, understanding, and communicates openly with him. Terri lets Robert explore new hobbies, interests, and even possible career directions. At the same time, she reminds him of the values and work his family has always stood for. She helps without pushing or pressuring him. This shows that real guidance can be caring and flexible, especially for children who grow up in the public eye. Terri's support has been a steady and loving presence in Robert's life. She makes sure he feels safe to make his own choices while still keeping the family's mission close to his heart. Robert's story shows the challenges of growing up famous. It shows the pressure of living up to a family legacy and why mental and emotional health is so important. It also shows why young adults need to find their own path. Growing up in the spotlight can be difficult. Sometimes personal growth means stepping back, trying new things, and making your own choices. Even as Robert explores his own way, he still cares deeply about wildlife. Terri has shown that being a parent means knowing when to step in and when to step back. Even with all the attention and pressure from fans and the media, Terri has managed to keep her family grounded. She has created a balance between tradition and new growth, between public life and private development. This balance has become one of the most important parts of Robert's journey. It allows him to move forward without feeling trapped by expectations, while still staying connected to everything his family has built over the years. As time goes on, Terri's role continues to evolve. She is no longer just guiding young children, but supporting a son who is becoming more independent with each passing year. That kind of shift can be difficult for any parent, but Terri handles it with quiet strength. She listens more, advises when needed, and trusts Robert to make decisions for himself. This trust has helped him grow with confidence rather than fear. At the same time, Terri continues to lead by example. Her work at Australia Zoo and her ongoing efforts in conservation remind Robert of the purpose that has always been at the center of their lives. She does not need to constantly remind him of what matters because she shows it through her actions every day. This kind of influence is powerful in a subtle way. Looking ahead, Robert's future remains open and full of possibilities. He may continue in wildlife conservation, expand into new areas, or even take paths that no one expects. Whatever direction he chooses, the foundation Terri has given him will remain steady. Her strength, patience, and understanding have shaped not just who he is today, but who he will continue to become. What do you think about Robert Irwin forging his own path? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we explored the remarkable journey of Terri Irwin and her son's transformation. If this story gave you a deeper understanding of her passion, dedication, and the challenges she faced, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to dive into more stories. See you there.